Normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
From the New York Post, I'm going to start by saying this. Hashtag free Derek Chauvin. Railroaded Derek Chauvin's foes will stop at nothing to punish ex-cop as he's nearly killed in prison. Yo, this dude certainly does not deserve any of this. And it's very obvious that the government is sacrificing him for their own protection because they are evil, because they are evil people. We saw this with the Ahmaud Arbery case as well. We're seeing it now with Derek Chauvin. He was nearly killed shortly after his appeal to the Supreme Court was rejected. And I think the reason is our Supreme Court, people need to understand, they're always like, oh, we got this great conservative Supreme Court. Oh, they're cowards, dude. Thomas and Alito are based AF, and that's fantastic. But the rest of them are cowards who are terrified of actually doing anything. Think of, it's just, I'm sorry, man. American culture is in shambles. It's in decay. We have a generation, several generations with too many spineless leaders. And it's sad, but it is what it is. And so this is the story now. Chauvin appeals to the Supreme Court. They say no. Shortly after, he's nearly killed. Listen, we can all argue, yeah, you shouldn't kneel on a guy's back and neck, to whichever argument you want to make. Fine, whatever. If it was on the neck, say don't kneel on the neck. He was trained to do it. He showed up after Floyd was already on the ground. He said in an interview that they were waiting for the ambulance to come. It didn't come. He could have certainly taken his knee off the neck of the guy who was clearly not breathing. There's a lot of things he did wrong. And for that, you get fired. You get involuntary manslaughter, which is like maybe 2 years probation, never be a cop again. The city is forced to pay out a settlement, end the training practice of kneeling on someone's back or neck. Instead, they claim this guy is an evil racist who intentionally murdered a black man, blah, 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 all that stuff. Federally indict him, lock him up and throw away the key, and then someone tries to kill him. If this is allowed to stand, like there's no justice in this country. Okay, because you can argue, let's say you're the most fringe far leftist person. If you would argue, and many of them are, laughing that he was attacked, saying, well, that's what you get. I'm like, okay, you are fascists and you are evil. You cannot like the guy. You can have the opinion he is an evil man who did wrong. And still, even if you do, understand that proper justice requires he not die being murdered in prison or imprisoned for the rest of his life in multiple charges.
Yeah. And the argument for a while was if he was in federal prison, he's safer, right?
Right. That was the idea.
And this was in the Ahmaud Arbery case, the father-son duo were sentenced to state prison after they got convicted on federal and state charges. They asked to be sent to federal prison for their own safety, and they were denied. They were sent to state prison because they want, ultimately, I think a lot of progressive AGs in this country really want to see a bloody end for these people. And that's horrible and sad. And the judge in Chauvin's case was like, well, if he's going to go to federal prison, put him somewhere his family can see him, right? And their family's between Iowa and Minnesota. And they were like, no, Arizona. We'll see you later. And now they're not giving the family information about his status. They're learning about it as the news updates, which is crazy.
Well, that's what his mom said. And then the judge also had come out and said that they were surprised that Chauvin was transferred to Arizona and that it was done without their awareness or knowledge of it.
But the Bureau of Prisons doesn't have to take a judge's recommendation.
For sure. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. In this case, I think it's pretty awful. Because
Did you guys see Fall of Minneapolis? Did you guys watch that?
No, what is it?
It's this documentary. It was a crowdsourced documentary about this case and everything that happened in the riots after George Floyd and what went down. It's actually pretty interesting. But they talk to the other cops in the case, and all of them are like, no, that we did what our training was. The autopsy showed that there were drugs, that it was like most likely an overdose.
Oh, this is the one where they mentioned
stuff.
the FBI interfered with the medical examiner's report.
Right. Yeah. And that the body cam footage wasn't released for months, which we knew at the time because that was like everyone kept waiting for the body cam footage to come out and it never did. And then it was just months and months later after the government had full control of the narrative.
Right. And the implication was like a gang of white cops who had, assaulted.
And it wasn't. It was like an Asian guy. There was a black guy. It was like the makeup of the city was in this little unit.
They even locked up the dude who was simply holding back a crowd. That's
right.
crazy. Like that guy had no idea what was even going on. He was like, "Guy, everyone stay back, stay back." And so now he's going to jail for a long time.
Well, nothing ever is going to happen, unfortunately, positive for Chauvin. Nothing is going to happen positive. If it does, you'll have that summer of love all over again.
Right.
So maybe something does happen. Actually, maybe something does happen, and that's what the left is going to use to push the pandemonium in the summer of 2024, just before the. Although
Trump should
I don't
pardon him. Trump should pardon.
Well, he can't
Derek
pardon
Chauvin.
him in Minneapolis. He
No, he can
in
pardon the
state
federal
case.
charges.
Yeah, the federal case.
So
Yeah.
when Trump's president, he can issue a pardon.
Do you
And he
think we're
should.
going to see riots this summer?
Yes.
What are they going to
Oh,
be
come on.
over? Immigration riots?
No, race. Every 4 years.
Uh-huh.
On election years. So 2020, summer of love. Can you believe it? It's been over 3 years.
I cannot even believe
Wild, right? When the summer of love was. I love that. That's what it's called. Who was it who said
it.
that?
It was Jenny Durkin. It
Yeah.
was the mayor of Seattle.
Summer of love.
What a turd she is. Just the worst.
I gotta
She
tell
was
you.
like, she also said that the Chaz, the Seattle Autonomous Zone, she also said it was like a big block party.
Yeah, with people being
Yeah.
killed.
With
Yo, just
killing of
understand.
black teenagers.
14-year-olds in 2020 who weren't paying attention will be voting next year.
Yeah. Wow.
And they're voting for Trump, apparently. Trump's up 46 to, what is he? He's up 4 points, I think, against Biden, according to NBC News,
So
in the youth vote.
Let's break that down for a second, because I was looking at this the other day. So Trump is up in the 18 to 34 vote. I think he's up.
He's
Right?
up
I
4
think
points.
He's
Yeah.
up. Okay. He's up. He's getting right now. I think they have.
How do they describe it? NBC News said Biden -4. That's what they said.
Okay. Well, so the overall poll, like the total of the poll, I think had Trump winning by like 4 points. If you go through the individual categories, I think the black vote, Trump was around 24%, which is insane. He got 12%.
In NBC News.
I'm talking
pull it up?
about, yeah, let's pull it up. I have screenshots of it because I was arguing this with somebody. But Trump had about 20, I think it was 24% of the black vote, which is awesome because I think he got 12% in 2020. He was +6 away from, or he was 6 points away from Biden in the Hispanic vote. I think it was like 42 to 48 or something like that. He lost the Hispanic vote by 32 points in 2020. So Trump is up 12 points on the black vote. He's pulled within, he's cut 26 points on the Hispanic vote. He's winning the 18 to 34 vote, and the overall poll only had him winning by like 3 points or 4 points or something like that. Are you insane? Like if you tell any Republican those numbers for a Republican candidate and you don't tell them it's Donald Trump, they're like, oh my, that's a Ronald Reagan 1980 landslide. I mean, he wins all 50 states. He takes Minnesota too.
That would be great.
Are
Right,
there
so-
any
so
places
the-
that are saying Trump lost?
Well, so here's a couple of questions.
Like if he
the
moves
ele-
in any demographic? Sorry, go ahead.
If the election is between a generic Republican and Joe Biden, it's 48 points for the Republican and 37 for Biden. If it's Trump versus any other Democratic candidate, it's 46 for the Democrat and 40 for Trump. And I don't know if they asked the inverse question. I think it's just those two, because I'd be interested if it was Joe Biden versus Trump, but it's probably somewhere in the poll. But that right there is interesting enough. But anyway, continue. What was your question?
Oh, I'm always curious to see, like, it's great that he's gaining. I'm also curious to see where there are any potential losses, right? Or is it just Joe Biden who's losing supporters? I mean, this was a poll a couple months ago.
We saw a swing state poll that had of like, what was it, 6 swing states? And it had Trump up in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and down in Wisconsin, which was like the one state that Biden won of the swing states. And I'm missing one in my...
Michigan?
Yeah, I'm missing Michigan. That's right. And you had Trump up in Michigan as well.
Yeah.
So,
And he's winning Nevada too. I think he's up like 6 or 7 points in Nevada as well, which is
Wisconsin was the whitest state of the states surveyed. So that was sort of interesting as well.
Yeah. I mean,
So I think they're saying right now they got Trump up 2 points against Biden.
Is that the same one that has those same? Because I know the numbers on the demographics are spot on. Because I have a photographic memory when it comes to that. So does it have the breakdown by the black vote, the 18 to 34?
That's what I'm looking for. That
Okay.
was the generic. Right
Okay.
now they're saying Trump's up 2.
Yeah.
And so Real Clear Politics is showing Trump's averaging 2.6 points above Joe Biden. A lot can happen in a year. A lot can happen.
yeah,
But
who even knows
I'm
it'll
gonna keep
be
going.
Joe
I'll try
Biden
and
in
find
a year.
the breakdown by race if they have it. I don't know. A lot of this is just the general questions.
I know Rasmussen had a poll in the beginning of October because I literally bought their platinum package just to be able to read this poll they had Trump winning 51% of the black vote.
Yeah, I remember that. The number of random subscriptions I have. And then it's like, I don't even remember how I subscribed. I have no idea how to cancel it. It's
Hey, look at this.
ridiculous.
You or someone else in your household owns a gun of any kind. 52 applies. 43 does not apply. That's interesting. Gun rights, baby. People in this country want to be able to own guns.
Yeah.
Democrats try and take them away. It's going to piss them off.
And they don't like Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden is intensely unpopular. Polls show this over and over again. The fact that there was a majority of Democrats who were like, no, he's too old to be president, that does not bode well for a re-election campaign. He only gets older.
Yeah, the one concern that I would have about declaring a Trump victory prematurely would be that I think Gavin Newsom would be a wild card, and I don't know what would happen there. I know a lot of people that that I talk to who are not really conservative, but they're also not really liberal. They really don't like Joe Biden. They also don't like Trump, and I think they would grab at a chance to vote for somebody they've never heard of who might have a reasonable-ish smile like Gavin Newsom.
I think they had to have heard of Gavin Newsom, though. I mean, especially after
sure,
the San
but
Francisco.
you don't hear of him the same way. And if you're not that engaged in politics, you'd know Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California, and California's fine.
He had one big
got a
viral
nice-
moment when
yeah.
he was doing his acceptance speech or his inaugural address, and I remember it went viral because I think a lot of the country didn't really know him, and his son came up on stage. People were like, how funny, how cute, this young, tall governor and this, adorable child, and he's a dad and a politician. And for Californians, they're like, no, we don't like that guy. And people in neighboring states know it, but the average American who's just in the Midwest who doesn't care about California that much just saw it as this oh, he's the guy with the kid.
Right. And they forgot all about French Laundry.
Right.
And how he was totally pushing COVID mandates on everybody, but doing whatever he pleased himself, including sending his kids to private schools that were not closed during the pandemic.
With everything that Newsom, that you hear about California, Prop 47 and all the crime that's running rampant there, coming out and saying, oh, yeah, Xi Jinping is coming over here, so we just moved all the homeless people. We can't do it for you guys, but we did it for him.
And he said, at the time, he was like, you've been hearing rumors that we did this because the pretty people are coming to town. And we did. That is why fancy people, not pretty people.
Right.
They're not pretty, but fancy. Yeah. And he confirmed that was in fact true. And it was a nice little chuckle. Oh, look, he's telling the truth. And how about that? What a guy.
Didn't he delay vaccinating his kids, even though every other kid, all the other students in California?
Yeah, there was all
He
that
also didn't wear a
stuff.
mask.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.